Hello. I boomered it. I was checking to see if y'all were listening. But hey, welcome. uh Dadman Walking 55 here. I think I just was going to show off the glory of the banana for a while. But hey, but welcome everybody. On that wonderful crazy note to start, Dadman Walking 55 here. Welcome here on a wonderful Friday night, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Having a good time. And hey, I was covering, I delayed it just long enough. Let me bring in the great co-host, the man that's Mr. XFL. He's even got season tickets. The great Woopah Troopah. Hey, Woopah.
Hello.
Hey, did you happen to see the way I started off the show?
No, I just got here.
You sound like you're out of breath. But hey, I even topped it all. I was talking for a minute, dead silence. Then I realized the mic was not on.
Nice.
So hey, I'm like Dean Smith. I can four corners anything, to suck the offense out of everything. Well, how are you? Well, let you get your breath. But how are you doing tonight? Ready for another weekend of XFL football?
Heck yeah. I'm doing pretty well, I got a little bit of cough still, but I'm doing pretty
Mhm.
good.
Well, it's kind of funny. I know that you follow the St. Louis Battlehawks so much, but I've learned today that they don't have a home game till the fourth week of the season. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they've got a weird setup that the first home game is March 12th. I've already requested the next day off just in case. Uh and then so each one plays 5 home games, each team, and we play week 8, 9, and 10 at home. And then for the
Wow.
first 7 weeks, we have 2 home games. It's pretty wild.
Well, a lot of times that's what people like, what teams like is give us the home games at the end of the season.
I
You
guess that's
know,
true. And hey,
yeah.
we're undefeated away so far, so I'll take it.
Some teams it's like keep them on the road. They do better on the road than when they come home. Oh, absolutely. So, did you have any experience? We'll talk all things about the league and all this before I jump the gun too. I was going to ask you. I guess I can ask it now. Did you have any personal experience with the league back? Because I know originally it started 2001, brought it back in 2020, and it shut down quickly because of everything that was going on. But did you have any previous experience with XFL football?
Yeah, so I wasn't around really for the 2001 game. I was 4, I think. So,
Yep.
but um, with what was I thinking of? Uh, with the 2020 version, obviously, we St. Louis had lost a team recently. Um, and so hearing the XF, us getting a is it spring league? I know it's a spring league, but it feels like half the games are in the winter, so I don't know. Uh, but
Well, it's
us,
summer down here.
oh, fair enough. But I bought season tickets for that season too, and it was crazy. The dome was packed. Everyone was chanting mean things about our owner. It was fun.
Oh yeah,
Or not the Rams ex owner.
yeah. I got you. That was hilarious. In a completely different league. That's what's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. But hey, well, let me say hi to the people we got in chat. Glad you made it in, buddy. And hello
Yep.
to Mrs. Dadman Walking. Hello. Glad you're here with us tonight, my lovely lady. And as always, the mod of mods, Jess. Jess, thank you for being here, SBD girl. Appreciate it. Let's see. And then there. Okay. Thank you. Um, yep. Get the banner going. So, let's see who is. If we got 6 people watching now. So, thank you for everybody that's here. I appreciate it. Lurkers, we love you too, and those that watch on replay. Um, that's kind of cool. Yeah, converse on both platforms. LOL. But we've got 6 people watching. Lurkers, love you. Like I said, if you're on the Twitch side, follow us over there, Dadman Walking 55. And if you're with us on the YouTube side, like the video, smash the like, and subscribe to the channel. Still trying to get to 150, only 2 away from that. So share it out, get people in, and we'll get to 150. Oh, wow. Maybe no, I might have to have them pay me to appear then. How about that? Oh, it's awesome. And we're here to have fun. I love talking football, period. And as we do this, our focus is going to be a little bit on, it's going to be on the XFL. We're going to talk some things about it. Woopah's got more personal experience with it than I do. I've watched a little bit of a couple of the games so far this year. But what I want to do is make it kind of like the NFL show and the college show where the league itself is the focus. But if you have general football questions, if you don't understand something with the game, ask us. Put a question out in the chat, or you have a topic, something you don't understand. If we can deal with it, if it's something we can handle, we'll try to deal with it and, see where it goes and have some fun. We're just here hanging as friends. So, and the missus has got your back though, Woopah. So,
thank you, Mrs. Deppe.
Yeah, you're definitely okay with that. So, all right, we talked about 2020, and that it was like a very short year because of things that we won't talk about. 2001 was the original year that it started with Vince McMahon. It was the big wild thing with the guy that with the jersey, he hate me. I mean, all kinds of fun stuff that happened with that back then. They threw the ball at midfield and everybody ran out to get the ball and all that stuff. And let me go with Jake D real quick. Hey, he's saluting comrade leader Woopah Troopah. Oh, and I'm a comrade now. Oh, thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Yes, you are comrade.
And comrade Mrs. Dadman. Feel like we're here with friends and family now. Awesome. Yeah, and folks, tweet it out again. I know we've gone live. We tweeted out. So bring your friends. We'll talk football tonight. 2001 was kind of the odd year. It was kind of wrestling meets football. Then it went dormant, brought back in 2020. And then, as I said, the quick end to the season. And then, of course, there's after some bankruptcies and this, that, and the other. And then sometime last year, talk was coming up with a new ownership group, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, to, resurrect the XFL in 2023. Currently, there are, and let me do this. Let me read this. It's from their website. It's described as the XFL is a fan-first, fast-paced global professional football league with innovative rules and enhanced 360-degree game experience. Anchored in world-class football, the XFL brings entertainment and innovation to advance the sport, expand player opportunities, and change the way that fans experience the game, which Woopah has not had a chance to enjoy the new experience yet because his team's on the road perpetually. The XFL is owned by Danny Garcia, Dwayne Johnson, and Jerry Cardinal's Redbird Capital Partners that launched February 23. Why do I want to think that that's something out of the Midwest?
It does sound like it.
Every time I think of Redbirds, I think of the St. Louis Cardinals football team or the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team.
The best baseball team in the world in history, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Hey, we got Theme Park Casual coming by saying, hey, kids. Hey to the big kid himself, Theme Park Casual. There Hello. You go. Woopah's got his baseball cap on.
Yep. I've got there's a guy named Pacific 414, Mike. He's a really cool guy, but he's a Cubs fan. So sometimes when I hop in his streams, I make sure to wear this to bother him.
Oh, there you go. Well, I used to claim the Cubs when I did follow Major League Baseball, but I don't. It's one of those long stories. I would love to do baseball, even a weekly type show. I loved baseball, but to me, it was bad enough when I had night games regularly, but then the way last time I saw a game with all the electronic signage and everything, it just breaks my heart to see it. And now all the rules that they're doing in this pitch count, the timing of the clock, it's just,
there's been a lot of, I hope it gets better.
Yeah.
I understand why they did the pitch count at first, because there's so many of these relief pitchers, especially,
Yeah.
that are just sitting there. You could play a whole baseball game yourself by the time they throw the first pitch out.
Yep. No, I
But
know.
the
Yep.
way that it's been implemented is really goofy.
That's the problem. Is implementation of every type of rule.
Hmm.
It's worse than implementation. But wait, hey, you know what? We may have to start baseball as the season goes along. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy a package and follow the Cubs again just to torment you a little bit. How's that sound?
I think there'll be more torture for you than for me. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. They got their one world championship and went back in the toilet again.
Hey, we'll
But
let you win once every 108 years.
there you go. There you go. That's cool. Well, with the XFL, they're currently made up of 8 teams, North and South Division. As we look here, I will bring this up. They've got a team in Seattle, the Sea Dragons, the Arizona Viper. Is it Arizona? I think Vegas Vipers, Las Vegas. Yeah, it's in the corners. The San Antonio Brahmas, the Houston Roughnecks, the Arlington Renegades. I guess they didn't want to call them Dallas. The St. Louis Battlehawks, the DC Defenders, and the Orlando Guardians. Hey, maybe Mrs. and I can make a road trip to see the Guardians one week.
Hey, maybe.
We'll see what happens. So they're split, like I said, in the North and South divisions. In the North Division, you've got the DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, the Battlehawks, the Vegas Vipers. The South is Arlington Renegades, Houston Roughnecks, Orlando Guardians, and San Antonio Brahmas. Looking at this map, it's kind of weird. North South. I mean,
Yeah.
it is kind of bizarre. I guess technically the teams that are north are more north than anybody else, but it just seems like a weird spread of teams from Florida to Washington State.
Yeah, it's a bit wild. I kind of wonder why they didn't. I guess they wanted to keep all the Texas teams together.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder why you don't. You could have put maybe the Battlehawks in there, or Vegas, and then have everyone else. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just wondering about Vegas being in there and then the others together. Or
Vegas wasn't interesting. I don't understand. Vegas. Excuse me. Was like it was you couldn't do anything with sports there for really any time, and now they got an NHL team, they got an NFL team. Now they've got the XFL is coming in there, and I think there was some other league that was talking about going there. I forget, but it's just like, holy cow, what happened?
Yeah, I know. We lost our moral compass. Gambling is fun, according to them. Anyway, but as everybody knows, I do not promote gambling. I am not a gambling site. When we talk football, we're just having fun as friends, because especially if you try to rely on me, you're on your own with that. My picks do not translate to winning. I just have fun with it. So
the XFL app has it has this like pick'em challenge. You can do over unders and stuff, but it doesn't cost money because Missouri doesn't have it legalized. So I can't bet real money unless I go out of state or get a broker. But last week I went 2 for 8. So definitely don't take my advice when gambling.
Oh, heck yeah. You're darn right about that. Absolutely. So that's how the league is been formed. It's 8 teams starting off in kind of a very interesting geographic format, though.
Yeah, it seems like Seattle sticks out a lot in the map, but they were the second best team in attendance last year. So I think they definitely wanted to keep them around because they'll make a lot of money off those tickets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They seemed to have a good crowd the other night when that game with against St. Louis. So,
yep.
Basically we got an 8-team league that plays a 10-week regular season, where we just finished the second week. The third week starts. Is it tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay. They'll play 10 games, 5 home, 5 road, as Woopah had said earlier.
And you play your division twice and the conference once.
Yep, exactly. The season will conclude with the XFL Championship game on May 13th at 3 p.m. on ABC. So,
And that's in San Antonio, by the way.
they fixed a site for it.
Yeah,
That
they
would be.
announced it week one. I'm interested that they picked a. I guess it's probably cheaper, but I'm interested they picked a XFL team last year, which I guess would have, in theory, been a home game for they were Dallas Renegades in 2020, but the plan was they were going to play that in Jerry's World up in
Oh, really?
the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be amazing.
I think they just. I think when they saw what they'd have to pay for it, they decided not to mortgage their kids and stuff.
Yeah, because this league, I mean, I'm sure it costs a lot to maintain, but
Mm-hmm.
they bought this league for very cheap, all things considered, because Vince McMahon obviously took out a lot of money to restart this, and the league was going great, but then obviously
Mm-hmm.
the the beer bug started and kind of derailed things. So and now Vince McMahon's not doing very well financially with all
No.
the issues he's in. So they kind of sold it pretty cheap, all
Yeah.
things considered. So I think they're probably like, hey, let's keep the money on the down low, or not money. Let's keep the expenses on the low.
Well, it sounds like from what I'm reading is that they declared bankruptcy. The assets were sold to Johnson, Garcia, and Carnell on August 3rd of 2020. So it's kind of funny the timeline of how soon that they picked up the rights to the league. So
it's crazy because the XFL at the time in 2020 was finally looking like the spring ball league that would actually make it, because their ratings were through the roof. Not everywhere was doing good attendance, but a lot of places were doing good attendance. So it's like, wow, this league might actually be the one to finally do it.
Yep, exactly. And then it looks like news started breaking last year in 2020 in the spring that that they'd hired certain people to serve as head coach, like Terrell Buckley, Reggie Barlow. I even heard Hines Ward is a coach in the league now.
Yeah, Hines Ward is in charge of the San Antonio Brahmas.
Oh my gosh, former Georgia Bulldog. Hey, how about that?
Yeah,
so
he's done. He's done. Well, he's interesting. A lot of I don't know if you want to talk about the coaches right now, but we can.
We can. We can. Go ahead. We talked about the team, so yeah, if you can line the teams up with the coaches, yeah, go ahead. It's a good time.
So a lot of these coaches, let me Google this just to make sure I don't say someone wrong. But a lot of these coaches seem to be either like old legends or like old household names or old players that have never really coached before. Mm-hmm. So let me Google this.
Yeah, I noticed the commonality, like the Buckley being Orlando's coach. It's kind of like in a lot of cases, there's some geographic connection where they could make it. I mean, Hines Ward in Texas isn't a connection, but
but you've got yeah. So you've got with Arlington, you've got Bob Stoops. It's you'll probably recognize.
Oh gosh, the Gator defenses under Spurrier were awesome with him.
Oh yeah, he was a dang good defensive-minded coach, especially. But he's and Arlington's been good defensively, offensively not so much. But and then DC defenders, Reggie Barlow, like you said, I don't remember him as a player as much, I admit. Houston Roughnecks have Wade Phillips.
Oh man, yeah.
He's gotten some slack, but I think he's done a fairly good. Personally, I think he's done a pretty good job in the pros, especially when he's a coordinator. And the Roughnecks have been good. Terrell Buckley in charge of the Guardians. I don't think this is kind of the thing. You got these old coaches like Bob Stoops and Wade Phillips. And here, I'll go to the next one. Jim Haslett in Seattle.
Oh,
that's
boy.
one heck of a name they picked up right there.
Yep.
But then you go to Terrell Buckley. I don't think he has much coaching experience.
No, he's more known as a player.
Yeah, and you have Hines Ward. It looks like he says the last job he had was wide receivers coach for FAU. So that's a bit of not a very experienced guy. And then you have Anthony Beck, which his last he was an offensive coordinator at a high school and then took this job. And if I do
Mm-hmm.
say so myself, you can. I'm happy we're 2-0, but that you can tell his inexperience sometimes. Um, and then Rod Woodson in charge
Oh
of
boy.
Vegas,
Yep.
and that's probably the biggest name here. I think even bigger than a lot of the other really talented guys. I don't think he has much experience. So it seems like they're using this as either getting some older guys who are like, hey, you know what? Uh, we'll do another round, as the head coach, or you're getting these young players that say, hey, we'll give you a shot at head coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think part of that is because of branding. Imagine
Yeah.
telling one of those people on the fringe, like, hey, you want to learn from Rod Woodson? Oh, that's a pretty good incentive right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also like even the league pitches itself is it gives players more exposure. It gives them more game tape to be seen. Because it is really going to be a stepping stone to move to the NFL. To advance your career. It's not meant to be necessarily a retirement job playing football in the XFL. You
Yeah, and that's one thing that's positive about this this league in the reboot in 2020 and 2023. I know in 2020 in 2001 it was kind of like, hey, we're going up against the NFL. We're going to have a
They
new
called it the
brand.
No Fun League. I remember
Yeah.
it was big about the No Fun League, and they were going to do this. That speaking 22, the original was they had that goofy run to the middle to grab the ball thing,
Yeah.
which people got hurt on those plays.
It was that league, and I mean, you would probably know better than I do, but that whole thing that's when it really started with people saying, "Oh, NFL's gone soft" and all of this. So
Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon, with his wrestling background, saying, "Hey, we're um, what is it? Well, you say, yeah, we're gonna give people what they want. We're gonna make it, kind of rough and tumble football, and add a lot of stuff that kind of silly."
Yeah, it got a little bit silly, but apparently it was successful at first. It
So
got some good ratings.
the first week apparently had insane ratings, like
Mm-hmm.
close to NFL ratings, and then
The
it just
debut
dropped
game,
off,
yeah, the debut game had 54 million views compared to the 84
mhm,
million views that the Super Bowl drew.
which is crazy. But I
Yeah,
know that after that, things dropped off pretty quickly because it was a little too gimmicky. Once you've seen it once, you're like, well, I've seen this already.
yeah. How do you keep it up? How do you keep going? How do you get more gimmicky? It's like what you bring them with is what they expect. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, but this reboot, both the reboots have more focused on uh, not fighting the NFL. Really, I think at least when Vince McMahon, he's never going to work with the NFL, but he was kind of just not combative about it. And The
right.
Rock has openly talked about it. Of just they know that the players who are coming to this league aren't coming because they want to play for there. They want to play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of just accepting that and saying, hey, this is your chance to spring into the NFL, get a practice squad deal, get a contract. Who knows what happens?
Because anything can happen. It's like even Arena Football League. Look at one of the greatest stories of all time with Arena Football League and Kurt Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor Football League, nets, all this stuff, and he transitioned to a on the field NFL quarterback that won a Super Bowl. It's
Yeah,
just it can be done, and
and you
these
look at
guys.
the
It's important about getting recognition and have tape on you so that you get that shot.
yeah, and you see even from the 2020 XFL, Taylor Heineke, which is funny because he was the Battlehawks backup quarterback, so he wasn't even our starter.
Oh, really?
He's he started over 20 games since then as a quarterback. That's no small thing.
Mm, wow, that is something. I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's a cool
Those are
guy.
definitely good stories. So, But yeah, really about the league, it's kind of a spring alternative. And you said about not trying to challenge the NFL. That's what I understand. Like with the USFL that's coming back out again, I think these leagues may have learned not to go out of your way to fight it, to kind of just try to embrace it or have some kind of almost like not necessarily like a feeder system, but just uh, just have another opportunity for people to play and get their games on tape and provide a big need for people like me or you that really love our sports. And I think it's kind of cool now. Their season ends in May. The USFL, I'm not sure when they end, but see, if you get football into June, then guess what? You only have 2 months before training camp.
Yeah.
Actually, not even 2 months for NFL training camps, and about less than 2 months before college football kicks off. So,
yeah, year-round football, baby.
Yep, I love that. I love year-round football. That's good.
Heck yeah.
As long as it's good football. I will say that's the hard part. Let's talk about one of the first games you watched this season, and then we'll get into some of the rules. That game, the first game of the year when St. Louis played
the Brahmas.
The Brahmas. That was, you and I were kind of talking back and forth during that game, and it was like, oh my gosh, field goal fest. And it's like you're like they say it's high paced, all this action, and then you're like, for a league that, and you will see the rules are not geared towards kicking in this thing, but
oh yeah,
it's like
pretty bad.
It was like we had a field goal fest in a game in a league that's not supposed to be that way. Let me say real quick,
it was
howdy to Brian. Hey Brian, welcome. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, that was an interesting game. I think it nearly put us both to sleep.
Oh, because the thing is, it was bad. There's a few, you can say, oh, these is a good defensive performance.
That was not defensive performance.
It was, hey, this offensive line let a guy come in unblocked. It was, it's not that the defense is doing good; it's that the offense was often just doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
AJ McCarron was had a wide open person, overthrew him by 10 yards or something. It was rough.
Well, I will tell you, yeah, it was definitely a hard game to watch. We'll see some of the rule changes that happened in there, and we can illustrate it as we talk about the rules. But the ending was really nice. I mean, but it's the 3 quarters, and really with a league like this, they don't need games like that. They need excitement. They need good stats. Some of the game previews that I've read this week, some teams can't run the ball. Some teams don't have a quarterback. Some quarterbacks are below 50%. It's like if any league's going to succeed, they need good quarterback play. They need points. They need excitement on offense. That to me is what made the Arena Football League so cool, is because your good team should score 50 points a game. Make it entertaining for the fans.
Yep. Now the quarterback play is interesting. I would say that you basically have 4 good quarterbacks and 4 not great quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. You see some of these quarterbacks who are like, well, they're just not very good. And other ones who are playing pretty talented probably have a chance to go to the NFL.
Well,
it's been a little bit of a sore spot.
I actually read today that one of the teams is having like a double quarterback. The college thing of having 2 quarterbacks. It's like,
oh yeah, that's I enjoy that. At the same time, it's not necessarily the best.
The old adage is, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none.
Yeah, and I think that's very true. I think it's better in this league sometimes, just because obviously lesser competition, and what am I thinking of?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're going to have a smaller pool to pick from than like NFL or even NCAA, because NCAA you can in theory pick from the whole nation. The XFL you can only pick from players who aren't good enough to be in the NFL but have graduated already.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that I think there's kind of 3 teams that have like a rotation right now, but there's one of those is because none of them are good. Yeah. Another one is because it's not really a rotation, because they have their guy who throws the ball, but one guy is really good. I think he's like their team's second leading rusher, even though he's a
I think.
quarterback.
I have to look up team. Is that the one Paxton Lynch is the quarterback of, and Derek King is one of the uh, quarterbacks?
No, that's a DC.
Okay,
DC
that's DC.
defenders have they have Jordan Teamu, former Battlehawks quarterback.
Okay.
But
Yep, I saw that name. Yeah.
it's very weird because we can get to that, but both quarterbacks have sucked at throwing the ball,
Mhm.
but they're all
Yeah.
great at running the ball. So it's like, well,
Well,
what do
I
you
hope
do?
we'll try to take a look at it a little bit as we look at week 3 and some of the previews that they've got. I tell you, it was kind of painful to read it though, Woopah. So, but let's get into the rules a little bit. And while we got 6 people watching, thank you, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure you follow us over on the Twitch side. We're up to 71 on the Twitch side now. We've had some sudden growth over there. Thank you all on that side. And for the YouTube, let's try to get to 150, only 2 away. But make sure you hit that like button. Appreciate all your support tonight. So, Woopah rules. The XFL's website says it will feature exciting gameplay innovations that deliver fans a faster pace of play and more action. The league will build on what started in 2020 by carrying several rules and innovative changes in areas of clock management, play reviews, and late game possession designed to improve gameplay and enhance the fan viewing experience. Before we get into the specific rules, what do you think? Because I know that they talked to the league director of officiating. That what do you think of this? In the website, there's an interview with the director, and he's like, "This is the cutting edge technology." The leagues, NFL, others have talked about it because if you watch an XFL broadcast, there's a camera in there with the official reviewer. It's not just you watching the guy on the field; you're actually listening to the guy talking to the refs and all this, reviewing the play, and you're seeing them live action reviewing the play. What do you think about that?
I like it a lot. It's an interesting insight into it all. I appreciate the transparency,
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times, how many times you're like, what was that guy thinking? What the heck is going on? And all you have is some announcer saying, I have no clue there. Because they're just as confused as we are.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that. The only thing that's, I guess, a little negative, and I think this is good, it's a good thing for the league, it's a good thing to have, just not necessarily looks bad on the league. There was at least 1 or 2 players I think they were reviewing, and they just say like, yeah, we don't have a good camera angle on that. And it's like, really? That's how it's going to go down? That feels pretty like, it feels kind of it doesn't feel the most impressive when that's the call of we don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
And I believe that you can challenge anytime, a play. You don't one of the biggest problems in the NFL is, well, that play is not subject to review, or same thing in college. You can't review this, but as I understand it, you can review any play. I think you're limited to challenges, but you can challenge anything. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. They have one challenge, and I think the way it's set up, and I could be wrong, is if you get it right, you can keep challenging. But the moment you get it wrong, you're done.
Yeah.
But they do have like in that St. Louis game, someone challenged a pass. Our coach challenged a pass interference call. They called it on us, and he said no. That I don't think that was pass interference, and I still don't think it was, but they still kept it.
Yeah.
But stuff like that. There's so much more you can review, which I do think is a good thing. I mean, I understand sometimes people say, well, if you can review everything, it's going to be so slow. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you got the call wrong, I feel like you should be able to challenge it and make sure they get the right call.
Yeah, what's the point of reviewing? I hate like a lot of games when they run up to the line of scrimmage. It's controversial, but they let the next play go in instead of just blow the daggum whistle and review it. If you're going to have some review it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But let's look at this because, like I said, they built on the 2020 rules. So some of the rule modifications from the 2020 year, I guess they have now a 35-second play clock. I think they gave a little more time the 3 overtime scoring rounds per team instead of 5. Which is they both get each team gets 3 possessions from the 5-yard line, and they alternate, and the combined score. Like if one team gets 2 and only one, the other gets 1, then the one that gets 2 wins. They cut that from 5 down to 3 timeouts per half. And Woopah, you know about this one. You explained this to me. And we're going to get to more detailed rules, but this fourth quarter, what happens in a lot of college NFL games? Go for the onside kick, which I believe that they can do in this. But tell us about what your team did in that comeback against the Brahmas.
So instead of going for an onside kick, what they do is they put the ball on the opposite 25, so they're as far as away from your end zone, and give you a 4th and 15. So you got one play to get 15 yards. If you convert, you make it. If you don't, obviously, the team gets it at the 25 or wherever you got to. I like this. I think it's pretty good. The Battlehawks, I think, are the only one to use it so far this year.
They are.
They converted, and it was beautiful. Because, oh man, that was a great drive. But
I tell you, it was funny as I looked. I didn't know what happened. I turned my back, looked back, and I saw how the heck did they get the ball there on 25, and then there was a first down. I was like, how did that happen? Where'd the onside kick go? And you told me about it. That was kind of funny. I thought I lost my mind that day.
It's pretty interesting. So the logic behind that is that onside kicks almost never work when you know it's coming. Like I think it's already only 10%, but that counts, surprise onside kicks and all that, which are much more effective.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So they have this 4th and 15, which is still not, I mean, we're 1-for-1 of the XFL today, but if you look at most teams trying to convert a 15-yard play, especially when the defense knows, hey, they need 15 yards. If we give them 12 yards, it doesn't matter. We get the ball back. Easier to defend against, but it's pretty. Yeah. I think it's a lot more exciting, and it's still it's still a low percentage play. So you add some excitement, add some more probability, but still, don't make it too easy for the team.
No, absolutely. But yeah, it's a good option. It's a good alternative. Like you said, it's very low percentage. You actually have more of a shot of converting this way than you do with a low percentage kick. And of course, in the day and age of player safety concerns, you also have that. So, but hey, That's awesome. But you know what, folks, this league is not geared towards your kicking game, because let's look at a few of the other rules. Extra points are not designed PATs like with the kick, like in the college and NFL. They're tiered extra points where you can either run or pass after a touchdown. From the 2-yard line, it's a single point. From the 5-yard line, 2 points. And it's kind of unique here, but we're used to the 2-point conversion in other games, but the 3-point option from the 10-yard line. And defense award the same number of points for a touchdown. But, I mean, how about that concept of having a 3-point play?
No, it makes things pretty different, because there's a lot of times in 2022, the XFL would tweet this out saying, hey, it's an 18-point game. And someone would say, hey, that's a 2-score game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like it. It's because a lot of these games are pretty good. A lot of these rules I think are pretty good. Like the onside rule, I really like. This one, I think it's interesting, but at the same time, I it's not something I'd want to NFL to do. I think it makes more sense with the NFL and college, but it's kind of neat to have the XFL like, oh, that's what you do. You don't have the extra points. You have this cool play.
Yeah. In terms of the, like you mentioned, the 2 options to keep the ball, traditional onside kick, which you can do anytime during the game, but the 4th and 15 conversion is only available in the 4th quarter. So, but then again, let's look at that. The kickoffs, I don't know how you do an onside kick like this. When the teams begin plays 5 yards apart, kicking at the opponent's 35-yard line, and the team return at their own 30-yard line. So, It is designed to get more
Yeah.
returns though than the NFL, where so many of the kicks end up going for touchbacks.
Yeah, they push back where the kicker kicks from, and I think a lot of this was basically, the NFL has essentially tried to make it to where returns don't happen. They made the kicker kick farther up.
Mm-hmm.
They changed it from the 20 to a 25. But the XFL made it to where they were all lined up right next to each other, like you said. So it's supposed to, it encourages returns, but it's supposed to lower the risk of safety to players.
Right. Other rules about clock management, game timing, 35-second play clock begins following the previous play. We're used to that. Clock start following incomplete passes and out of bounds plays prior to the 2-minute warning of either half. So it'll stop under 2 minutes. Clock will stop following first downs and after 2-minute warning of either half. The first and second half will have a 10-minute halftime and 3 timeouts per team per half. So, but another unique rule here is what they call the double forward pass. I don't know if you've seen this. I know I have not. But if a team completes a forward pass behind the line of scrimmage, the team may throw a second forward pass as long as the ball has not crossed the line of scrimmage. Have you seen that in practice yet?
I've seen it once in 2020, but it's probably not what you expected. It's basically just so they kind of make it seem like it's going to be trick plays, but I think for the most part, what you're looking at is, first of all, like something like a wildcat. Now you don't have to like make sure it's behind someone. You can, act like you're doing a screen, and then that person can throw up something like that. Or when I saw it in 2020, what happened was, and we've seen this in the NFL, the quarterback threw it, got batted down by the defensive line, and he grabbed it before it hit the ground. So then he just turned out and threw it again, because that's, you can do that. And I think that's cool. I don't think that would be the part of it. I think I always thought, man, I wish if the quarterback passes it and catches it again, I wish he could pass it again, but it doesn't seem as interesting of a rule as it seems. It has very little applicability, I think.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure. Yeah, it's like it's almost like one of those plays that happens by accident. It's you can't. How do you draw it up? Really can't.
Yeah.
Yep. Hello to you. Let me say hi to Euro Toys. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. And we got 7 people watching us now. So hey, folks, we're getting into some of the meat of this stuff now with the rules and stuff and with the game. Hope you enjoy this. Like some XFL. We like talking any kind of football, but most of all, thank you for your support for the channel. On the Twitch side, make sure you follow us. Please, it'd be appreciated. And on the YouTube side, leave a like and sub if you haven't. So we talked about the instant replay, about how we see it live on TV as they do it. Centralized replay with all plays subject to review from the replay official. Replay may correct errors on non-reviewable plays, player safety at any point during the game, and any issue in the last 5 minutes of regulation plus overtime. Oh, I like this comment. This is a good way to, don't forget to tackle the like button. That's a good one. Nice. The head coach may challenge.
That's what we keep her around for.
Absolutely. Yeah, she keeps me honest.
She's the brains of the operation.
Absolutely. Definitely. Reminded me about this banner at the bottom too. You mentioned this. The head coach may challenge one on-field ruling per game, including those involving a foul or potential foul. And the final ruling made by designated members of officiating department in a central location, which I take to be that TV booth where we watch them. So those are some of the rules that are there. Are there any that you really don't like?
One thing that kind of bothers me, I don't know if this is necessarily the same in college or NFL. I'm not an expert on the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
On the rules. I don't know. Sorry. I'm going crazy.
No, you're good. You're good.
but the fact that they have these rules, I like the kind of, hey, we're going to keep it fast paced. Incomplete pass, clock is still running, only stops for first downs and all that. But then the fact that within the 2 minute mark, they changed that. It's like, well, I don't know, like it, because the goal of that is just to make games more competitive. Like, oh, there's more time for a comeback, but it just seems a little artificial there, Like, I
Right.
feel like if you have the same rule for, what, 56 minutes of the game, and then you have a different rule for 4 minutes, it just seems a little odd. I feel like they should keep the same rules, especially because if you want to make a comeback, tell them, hey, you're making a comeback, you better get in the hurry up all the time or be getting first downs.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And their website here, I kind of mentioned this earlier, is that the chief of officiating Dan Blandino was talking about uh, why they do what they did. They made changes, didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but they liked that they had what they established in 2020, including eliminating the PAT kicks. So, but also, like, you used the word transparency earlier, and in the article, he uses that very word, is transparency. That they, right down here when it talks about replay center, we really feel like transparency helps the fans understand more about the game and how the officiating process works. It also eliminates any questions about what just happened. It really allows people to listen in, see the replay folks, myself, the officials do their thing. It eliminates a lot of the negativity. And I think all those are points that you were just making about that and about the ability to watch the official and things like that.
Hey, sorry, I'm back. I had my internet cut out.
You're good.
Hopefully I'm here now.
Yeah, you're here. You're here. So, and it talked about that article goes on to talk about some of the other things with that, like which we've already talked about. So, it's kind of a fun sounding league with some of this stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to see if we can. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I know where we are next. But before we look ahead, let us look at the current standings in the league. How about that? Not hard to do with only 8 teams, is it?
Yep, and it's all by conference too. So
yeah, Brian said they didn't end up doing a field goal point bonus based on yards. 3 points under 50 yards, 4 between 50 55, 5 for 56 and over. I don't see that rule in the kicking. Are you familiar with that, Woopah?
No, I think he's saying that they decided not to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that would be kind of cool. I wish that would happen in the NFL because, I tell you, in the old days, they kick from 50, 55, 60 yards all the time. But, it's like all they do in the NFL is try to dissuade kicking like that. I like that system. Personally, I think you should reward a kick that goes 50 yards and more if it's 60 yards than just the same old 3 points. I mean, if we're going to change things up, you know what I mean? So
yeah, get a little bit creative with it. Especially, I mean, kicking a 50-yarder is not easy.
No, I know. But nowadays it's like try to find them. I mean, that's what happened in Dallas in the playoffs is like the kicker missed so many daggum extra points. You can't go find another kicker off the street that time of year. The good kickers are under contract. So, but yeah, that's a nice point. I like those ideas. That would be cool to have rules like that. Hey, I just got to say, we got 8 people watching us now. Hey, we're growing, Woopah. It's like the more we talk, the more come. But hey, make sure you tackle that like button, as Amissa said. Share it out. We're doing something new with spring football. I love football. I know Woopah does. So, Woopah, let's take a look at your friends in the North Division, shall we? Your team, the St. Louis Battlehawks, are tied for the lead with the DC.
Heck yeah, 2-0, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. With dramatic wins over San Antonio and Seattle. Seattle was a division game, actually, in this case. So, you have a division of unbeaten's and winless. When in the South, you have kind of a split. The Houston Roughnecks are in sole possession of first place, undefeated 2-0. The Renegades and the Brahmas are tied at 1-1, and Orlando Guardians are last at winless 0-2. Of course, looking at the icon, let's see. Okay, I see the Roughnecks. It's a H. Almost it looks like a oil well,
Hmm.
and I can get that connection with Roughnecks. I can do because the old John Wayne movie. The Renegades is just a like a R. The Brahmas are kind of cool with it looks like a bull, but
Yeah,
The Guardians just look like a panther or something. I mean,
it's supposed to be a gargoyle.
is that supposed to be a gargoyle?
Yeah,
Wow, I wish I could. Man, wow, that is bizarre. Here, let me take it down a second, real quick. Golly, really? That's supposed to be a gargoyle. A gargoyle.
yeah. I didn't say it was a good supposed to be a good one. I'm just telling you what it's supposed to be.
I just got. Well, I'm going to go find an image to see where we can actually make it larger. That's still not. I'm trying to let me see if let's see if I can find a better. Oh my goodness, that this is one I really want to look at closer. But the best. This is probably the best view I got here, and I can't really get it too much blown up there.
Here, I
It
put
looks
one
like a
for you in the chat.
okay. Let me see. Let me do this. Let's see. Here we go. Let me do this then. Oh my gosh, Woopa. It looks like a panther to me.
Yeah, it kind of does.
I mean, with the fangs, maybe I just Disney spoiled me with looking at gargoyles from the old cartoon show, but this one, this one, man, I see panther when I see this. So, but wow, kind of stunning though. That is quite interesting, I will tell you. But hey, it's I don't know. It's what it is, though. So many times you got. Golly, I'm speechless with that one. But that one was so bad. I will say. Oh my goodness. So, all right. Well, let's get back. Well, let's look at some of the other logos we got here. We got and go back to the north. Well, the Battle Hawks are cool with the sword and the wings.
Oh yeah, we're
The
cool.
Vipers, I don't know. It looks like a martini, with the martini glass.
Vipers is a very boring logo.
Mm-hmm. Sea Dragons is kind of cool with the fire out of the dragon's mouth. Talking about boring, I think the DC Defenders is the boring one. I mean, it's just a D with I think that's supposed to be a star, probably like for the nation's capital or something.
It's pretty boring. And look at what I posted in the chat again, real quick.
We'll take a look at it and let's see. Let's see. Ooh, where did this come from? Is this an edition?
That was from the 2020 version. That was their
Okay.
logo for 2020.
Let me
Still,
make sure.
it's still not the best, but it looks a lot better in my opinion than whatever they have now. Looks
Oh, I
silly.
do agree with that. And to show everybody else, here we go. Here we go. There. That looks better. That looks more active. There looks like some action in
There's some
that.
action there, and it's a it's a shield. They're the defenders,
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely. Brian is saying, I like the Battle Hawks, Roughnecks going hard for that Oilers logo. Yep. I
heck yeah, let's go Battlehawks, baby.
Exactly. I noticed that too, that oil rig. Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. So, but yeah, Battle of Logos. I think of all the logos, probably the one I don't like. And honestly, I have a problem with a gargoyle, But honestly, of all these, the one that I think I don't like the best is the Renegades. It's just, it's just an, I don't know,
Very boring. Oh, bless you.
very, very boring.
And
Nice shade of blue though.
the 2020 team did have a better logo, but it was pretty much still just an R, if I
Uh,
remember correctly. Let me double
uh,
check.
yeah, talking about boring. Yeah. So there's the current standings that we've got in the league this year. So far through 2 games. We will.
Oh no, the Renegades logo was a lot better. Here, I can find it for you.
All right, go ahead.
I forgot what this logo was, but it was much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Ah, yeah. This makes more sense now. Understand that
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sure that. No problem. I'm sure with the bankruptcy laws and trademarks and all the other stuff had to die. They couldn't just, even though they bought the assets, there's probably property they couldn't have used. But this by far is a better. I mean,
Yeah, it's
by
much
far,
better. And you
yeah.
have I know it's a Renegade, but like the outlaw kind of feel. I love that. That's
Mhm.
one of my favorite kinds of logos.
Yeah, it's you got the mask, the red eyes. Really, really, it draws your attention in. I like the shade of blue though. I don't mind the shade of blue. I kind of like it, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
an R is just very, very dull. So that
Yeah,
is,
and it's kind of part of that whole minimalist trend.
which I don't mind minimalist in a way. I think some minimalism is good, but it's the
I
end of
can
the day you
understand
need
because
something a little. Yeah.
some logos are too busy, but especially like if you ever look at old soccer in like European soccer logos, you're like, what the heck
Mhm.
is going on here?
Yeah.
But I like some interesting points in the logos too, not just a R or a
Yep.
V like the Vipers was. The Vipers wouldn't have been like that the whole time. It was always pretty bad.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, let's look at some stats, shall we? We're like I said, we're through week 2, and we've got uh, the league, stats for the uh,
Those are the
offensive
team
side.
stats. I don't know if you want to look at the team stats or the player stats.
We'll look at. Let's start here with the team stats. At least I like kind of the way they break the passing and the rushing separately. Uh, but look at these numbers though. You know, Battlehawks, 40, a good percentage, 60, roughly around 2/3, 67%. But for a league that's supposed to be open and crazy, open offensively and stuff. What I don't like is it just seems like there's not enough open passing and stuff to. My rule of thumb, my rule of thumb, 10 yards of completion, not attempt, 10 yards of completion. That's what I want to see out of a quarterback. And none of these have that meet that. I mean, if anybody, probably the closest might be the defenders, and they've only completed 20 passes in 2 games. And you
Yeah,
kind of
that's just
wonder.
because they don't. That's just because they
Yeah,
don't pass.
but even the Sea Dragons, they have the leading Danuti or whatever his name,
Danucci.
Danucci. He's the leading quarterback in the league. But look, he's 55 completes and only 476 yards. Less than 10 yards of completion. The Roughnecks do have 10 yards of completion, so at least they have that. But I just kind of one of my personal rule of thumbs. Looking at those is what I look at. You look at the teams with the touchdowns. I mean, the leading teams, 3 teams have 4 touchdowns. The defender have no touchdown passes.
Yeah,
It's kind of disturbing trend statistics wise for a league that's
and
supposed to be exciting.
I think the Brahmas is the only team that has had a quarterback throw 3 touchdowns in a game so far.
I think I read that earlier today too. So, Brian had a comment about had 2001. Wow, 2001 XFL swag with the San Jose Demons name logos all over it before they changed the name to the San Francisco Demons when the season started. That's
Nice.
kind of cool when you have something like that, when you can get the merchandise that changed. I don't know if you were in when I was talking to Klobby before on one of the NFL shows about how the Jaguars' original logo was. if you bought that original merchandise type stuff and still had it, it could be a little more valuable because they had a full bodied Jaguar. Well, the problem was it was too much like the car company. So it got nicks
That's
torn down
funny.
before they even kicked off. So, and then we ended up with the Jaguar head. So, but absolutely get your merchandise early off. And any other observations you have with this? Looking at the just at least on the passing stats, Whoopa, before we move over to rushing.
The biggest thing is that the defenders suck at passing.
That
You
is
know,
bad. That's like high school numbers right there.
it's so bad, and I feel bad for him because that's the team that has Teamu and De'Aaron King. And I always want Teamu to do good, not this week at least, but every other week, because he was an awesome player for the Battlehawks, and he played well for the Battlehawks. He wasn't the best. He wasn't the best, but he made good throws and was great with his feet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sad to see him doing so poorly.
Yeah.
And then the Guardians have the most interceptions. That's Paxton Lynch there. And
Yep.
there are other two quarterbacks who have everyone's thrown an interception on
That's
that
what I
team.
was reading about early today. They have they get no traction, And Paxton Lynch was one of those first round quarterbacks in the NFL, and still even
Yep.
then you got three quarterbacks and they total 300 yards. It's not a good sign, and I like that's what made the original USFL back in the 80s really good because they had some good teams and some good open offenses. Because NFL was still stuffed shirt running all this stuff, but they had some open offenses. The in the few games that I've watched and seen some of you, it's until the fourth quarter when your team gets live, it's like it's the play quality of play is just not there, throughout the whole game. And you look at the points are down. But when you look
Yeah,
at these
it's been
numbers,
very low scoring, which is surprising because that's not how it was in 2020. It was
mm-hmm,
pretty good, and it's
yeah.
been a little bit less, a little bit more lackluster so far.
And it is important, I think, for a new league to be draw you in to have the excitement. Like the first time we ever went to an arena football league game here, when the AFL was still around and we had a team. We quit going when they kept going when they left the AFL, and then of course the AFL went bankrupt because it became just indoor football because you didn't have the nets. That was an AFL trademark thing. But when we went in, I went in. Gosh, I think I went by myself. I don't know if the missus went with me. I know Ang didn't go to the first one, but when I went in, it was like, oh my god! It was like a combination of football, hockey with the boards, and WWE because of the loud music explosions and all the stadium performance stuff. It was like a combination thing, and it really got you excited. It really pulled you in, and they scored a lot of points. It was not uncommon to have 50, 60 points in a game. Both teams. You get these games in the 20s or barely getting to 20, it's can be a little rough. Well, and remember, these are through two games. So I guess the Guardians like to throw the ball, but, and so do the Roughnecks. Let's flip over. Let's look at the rushing yardage, team-wise. Your Battle Hall, let's see. I wonder, they went Alpha. Dang it. Why'd they go Alpha? Wait, here. There we go. Let's do it that way. Hey, it's a good website, Good
There you go.
graphics, good things. So we can see what. Actually, let me go back to passing real quick. Let's no, not that one. Let's do it on yardage. The Sea Dragons leading quarterback, Danucci. The Brahmas are third, Roughnecks second. Your Battlehawks, your favorite AJ McCarron. By the way, Whoopa, I love watching you on Twitter watching a game.
Oh, you like my live tweeting
Yes, I do.
overreactions?
I've done that on Facebook before, driving everybody insane. I might have to do that on Twitter though, but I'll give you credit because it's like so many Gator games I've just blown up Facebook. Then I start yelling at my cousins for apologizing for the idiot coach. So, but of course, we see the defenders and the Renegades trailing up the end with the passing offense as we talked about. But rushing wise, it's the defenders are the leading rusher, and that's not surprised based on the quarterbacks you mentioned earlier.
Well, they've got a lot of their team consists on, they got Jordan Ta'amu, who's doing pretty well rushing, Derek King, who's always been kind of that rushing guy. Abram Smith, I don't know if you know him, but he just graduated from Baylor, had a huge year, converted linebacker, went undrafted and was on the Saints for a bit, but so he's pretty talented. And who else do they have? They have someone else that's also pretty good. And I remembered their name, but now I don't. Let me double check.
Go ahead. I'm trying to type something to someone in the chat.
Raquel Armstead.
Mm.
So he was a big Jags draft pick and then had some issues with COVID long
What was the
term.
name again?
Raquel Armstead.
Oh, yeah. I remember the COVID. Yeah, exactly. I remember that he was out quite a bit, but he's, I guess, not giving up.
No, and he's playing well. The defenders have 3 players in the top 5 for rushing yards. It's pretty crazy. But I guess that's what happens when your quarterbacking is so bad. You have to run the ball, or else you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to type this thing. So I was typing something to Brian out there because he had mentioned. Let me get back over here. Brian had mentioned that the AFL games were different enough to be fun, especially in person. Used to go to the San Jose SaberCats games. Well, what I mentioned in there was there's one year the Jacksonville Sharks played at San Jose for the league championship game, and because we went to a friend's house, and what was so weird with that was San Jose scored, kicked the ball off. The ball hit the daggum crossbar, not the net, but the crossbar, bounced 20 yards back upfield, it seemed like. San Jose caught it and never broke a stride and went in for a touchdown. I mean, that's a hook. That is a hook. That's something that gets you excited for a game. So
right, that's pretty crazy.
Absolutely. So one thing with these numbers, looking at the rushing and going back to the passing, I would have expected. Okay, so we got both of them showing up there, but see, look, I would have expected to have more teams with more passing yardage, considering how little running some of these other teams have done. But it's not a surprise.
Yeah, especially because look at the yards per carry on a lot of these teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, would you like to be a Renegades fan? Look at the stats.
They're not having a great offense right now.
They're at the bottom of both. Geez. At least the Vipers throw the ball a little bit better, but there's that's what the way the league stats look like right now. Any other thoughts on the stats before we move on, Woopah? Or is this pretty much about what you expect based on what you've seen?
Yeah, pretty much. That's about it.
Yeah. And we'll look at some of the individual stats. DeAndre Francois, I think that's a former Florida State Seminole quarterback.
Yeah.
He got kicked off the team because of something in a bar. Yeah. Yeah. It's Derek King, of course, is the guy that just hopped schools in college, and he was the guy that former Gator quarterback Kyle Trask sat behind in high school. Kyle Trask never started a high school game because he sat behind King, but then did wonders at Florida. Hey, Cole McDonald got one pass attempt.
Yeah, that's the weird thing with the Houston Roughnecks. Brandon Silvers is the main quarterback, and he's done pretty well, though he's kind of a gunslinger type. Like, he has 4 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions, and really should have been 3. Just one defender, he threw a ball right to a defender and he dropped it.
Yep.
But Cole McDonald, I think, has a ton of rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just very mobile, and they've been using him in that kind of role.
Yeah, that's kind of that. Oh, there you go,
Yeah,
Raquel Armstead. Yeah, I remember him. He's third. See, and there you said right down in the middle, Cole McDonald, 11 carries, 53 yards. So
not bad.
exactly. Just trying to look, see some names, Paxton Lynch, like we talked about. Uh, so there you go. That's some of the stat leaders in the league. So, all righty. Well,
Here, can you go to the wide receivers real quick?
okay, sure. Yep, absolutely. I'll bring them up here. Austin Prohl, who's son of Ricky Prohl, who's a wide receiver coach for St. Louis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously Ricky Prohl holds a soft spot in the heart
Mm-hmm.
of everyone from St. Louis.
Yep. Why do I think Josh Gordon? It sounds familiar.
Well, I mean, you might have heard of him.
Is that the Cleveland guy that got?
Yep, that's
Okay.
the Cleveland
Okay.
guy.
Wow. All
He
right.
is back, and he's played pretty well. He's down here. I mean, he does have over 100 receiving yards, but the Sea Dragons have said that he's part of the reason that they have the other two top receiving wide receivers, because so many
Mm-hmm.
people double team Josh Gordon. That leaves
Yeah.
them Ja'Cour Pearson and Blake Jackson open a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah. Because they're leading the league 16, 13 catches. Yeah. Absolutely.
Ja'Cour Pearson is dangerous.
Well, I recognize a name that jumps out to me here. Josh Hammond, a receiver for the Defenders, former Florida Gator wide receiver.
I recognize the name above him, at least, Martavis Bryant. I don't know if you remember him.
That name sounds familiar. But
He was a big guy for the Steelers. Made that one catch. I don't know how much you watched the NFL. That in the wild card game with Steelers versus Bengals, he made that insane catch between his legs.
I didn't remember that one. So, but yeah, I was just looking at some of the other names on this list just to see. But yeah, it's interesting though, But yeah, a good point of the two is how they have how Seattle has the two leading receivers.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that is awesome. All righty. Well, let us look at the games this week. Let me get to the right thing. Oops, that didn't help. That was the wrong thing. But hey, at least I didn't mute my microphone again. That was
Hey,
some fun.
baby steps,
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you though, I like their setup. I like this website and things like that. That's really easy to use. Sorry, now I'm hitting the wrong thing. Let's see here. Just trying to let me go back to this. But so overall, you're okay. We know you're a fan, St. Louis. What are your thoughts so far through 2 weeks? One as a fan of St. Louis, and then two just a fan of the league.
It's very hard to gauge sometimes because obviously, I mean, you watch that first game, everyone looked bad for a bit there. Besides
Mhm.
one of our D line who got a crazy strip sack, and a quarterback who made one of the best interceptions I've ever seen. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was I thought he let it touch the ground at first, but then in the replay, I'm like, oh no, he caught that.
Yeah.
But everything looked a lot out of sorts. And I'm still not sure. Like, our defense has been really good at times, and at other times it's like, who was covering that guy? He was wide open. Or how many missed tackles they have. Oh my goodness, they missed so many tackles. But
Yeah.
the offense is kind of similar. Agent McCarron looked pretty bad for the first 3 quarters of that first game, and then ever since then he's played really well.
I remember your Twitter feed was
Dude,
fired
he
up about
was
AJ McCarron.
well. They were bad passes, and I know a lot of time he was under pressure, but it's like, dude, third and 3, he's got a wide open running back in the flats, and he just passes it way over his head. And I'm like, what are you doing? Come on.
Yep. I
It
remember
was
that was
very.
hilarious.
It was
And Brian,
frustrating.
yes, that probably was the okay. If you remember the game, because and yeah, they did fold right after that. That was the problem with the arena league. They could never kept having too many franchises fold up and stuff, and it seemed like all the owners were in for it themselves. And I'm amazed we still have a team here. They've moved down to such a low level, but it, not to sidetrack anymore from it. But I tell you, arena indoor football needs to have the nets to for the unpredictability. What they do, where they just kick between a pipe, it's not the same, and they kick it through the uprights like that. They call it a deuce. You got a deuce, and I'm like, okay, what does dumping have to do with it? But anyway,
All right.
thanks for confirming that, Brian. So, all right, games this week in the league. We've got 0-2 Sea Dragons, Seattle at the 0-2 Vegas Vipers. Uh,
So this is one thing that's interesting. I
mm-hmm.
don't know if you saw pictures, but the Vegas Vipers field is awful. Like it looks worse than a high school field.
They're not playing at that nice new stadium they have for the
Nope, they're
NFL.
playing at some like college stadium, I think, or maybe not even a college stadium. It's terrible. Let me see if I can find some pictures for you.
Oh, I mean, that was interesting. That yeah, that would be interesting to see that picture. So yeah, the action was really fast paced with the nets and rebounds. Absolutely, Brian. That made the game. Um, in this matchup this week, it's like they call it. They got it. Some got it at Cashman Field. Oh boy. Uh, with the weather promises to be more cooperative than last weekend compared to last. Apparently, they last week it was might have well they described it should have been coastal Oregon. Uh,
Yeah,
so
it was
basically,
pretty bad.
Rod Woodson's the coach of the Vipers. Is his first year of professional head coach. Uh, so of course, they only have 116-yard rushing in this game. Uh, they have Rod Smith, a former Dallas Cowboy, but he only has really one 27-yard run this year. It counts for 70% of his yardage. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other running backs really not much that are there. Seattle's really not been running the ball, but they do have the league's leading passer with DiNucci. But the running play, longest running play for the for the Sea Dragons has been 14 yards. So same type of thing, but like you saw, they do have the leading receivers in the league. So
Seattle's interesting. They're 0-2, but they're not a bad team.
mm-hmm.
They just have a lot of turnovers. DiNucci has 2 interceptions and I think a fumble as well. And that's what killed them in our game. They had 3 fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
And in the previous game, they were on the goal line, had a chance to win, and then fumbled it. So they're not a bad team, but they've been turning over the ball a lot.
But they do own 2 of the league's 3 successful 3-point PAT conversions. So have been good. Yeah.
Their coach, who is it again? I'm sorry. Oh, Jim Haslett is their coach.
Jim Haslett,
He said he's only going for 3s. He's never going for anything other than a 3, no matter what.
Yeah.
So far he's stuck to it.
Well, looking at the special teams, Vegas has missed all 3 field goal attempts so far. But of course, they have the quarterback problems between Perez and Hundley. So
it's interesting. So part of that field goal was there was one. It was like a 26-yarder, and the field conditions were so bad. The kicker tripped and like kicked the ball while he was tripping. So that's not necessarily his fault. That's the field. Look at how that looks now. That's pretty rough. And then imagine it being soaked in rain. Like
that's an old baseball field. That's an old baseball stadium.
Yep,
that is old field right there, folks. That thing is going to hold water. I mean, water's just going to pile up there like crazy.
Yep, and it did.
Wow, that's crazy. And you only have 2 areas to sit in.
Right, you can't have any good seats, really. I mean, I guess you can have sort of good seats, but not. I mean, it's
that
not
is
insane.
Good. Wow,
it's pretty bad. I don't know why they chose to play in here. I guess it's their only option. But
They might have been better just with a regular high school stadium than
Right.
a baseball
And it's
field. Yeah.
not like they would have had many less seats. Look at that
Hmm.
thing. That can't seat many.
But this game does represent the first meeting between Rod Woodson and Jim Haslett as head coaches. So, although they were on opposite sidelines many times in the NFL, uh,
Yeah,
so
I
this
think.
is an interesting game coming up this weekend.
I think. I mean, it's hard to say the Vipers aren't necessarily a bad team because they've almost won games too.
Yeah.
Um, but Seattle, I feel like, has even though they're both 0-2, they've played much better. And
Yep. And this game is on FX. Yeah, the
yep,
buried network. So
they have FX, ESPN, and ABC. Those are everything's on those three. Which I don't
yep.
like FX, but whatever. I watch everything on ESPN Plus, so it works for me.
There you go. Whatever you got to do to get it. So, all right. Well, let's go to the next game of the week. Right up your alley, we got the St. Louis Battlehawks at the DC Defenders. Both teams come in at 2-0.
Heck yeah.
And just it's amazing the Defenders are 2-0 with such bad passing statistics. But hey, if you can run and win
Yeah.
it, you run and win it. So, and
I
McCarron has, like you said, started weak, but kind of has gotten better.
Yeah, and he plays really mistake free. He has over 50 rushing yards on only 9 attempts.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you're aware of McCarron in this game. He's not known for his mobile
No.
quarterback play.
No, he was a little nimble. Even in college, even though he was nimble, he was not considered a mobile quarterback, or he was a pocket passer.
Yeah, and he's older now. A lot of it has just
31.
been
He's 31.
you can tell kind of that I feel like I don't know if I can say he's the best because I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks, but you can tell he has the experience and the field IQ because that's the thing. It's not that he's running and looking to run; it's that the defense gives him something, gives him room, and he says, "Oh, hey, I can make this play," and
I'll
he
take
does.
it. Yeah,
And
that's
it's just
part of maturity being around.
yeah.
And he ran 9 years ago at the combine. He ran a 4.94 40-yard dash. So,
not the
my
best.
gosh. Let's see. And Jordan Tamu has only completed 45% of his passes for Washington, and he's also fumbled a couple times.
I don't know if
Louis
he's going
has
to
forced
be.
the league best 4 fumbles, recovering all of them.
Yep. I want to see. I'll look up this real quick.
Yeah.
If
DC has only 180 yards passing through 2 games, with the longest completion going for 18 yards. Although they seem to be working with a 2 QB system. Let's see.
I'm wondering who's going to get the start because Teamu hasn't been great, but I mean, Caden, isn't the best either. It's a very run-oriented team.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got good running backs and they got a lot of good options. I just wonder, they've got to be able to pass and spread the field at some point.
But they've also been relying a lot on their defense because they have even though the St. Louis has been having these late comebacks, these late finishes, DC has not allowed a single point in the fourth quarter to date.
Oh,
and
wow.
the defenders have outscored their 2 opponents in second halves 32-9.
Dang.
So give them some credit. I mean, it's if you're going to win with a garbage offense or a very pedestrian offense, you better have a good defense. I mean, at least scoring wise, keep them out of the end zone. Which is what it looks like.
6 at least.
This could be a good game though. Two undefeated teams coming together though.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick St. Louis to win, not just because I'm a homer, but I feel like the DC is getting. It's hard to say how good they are necessarily because they got kind of lucky in the first game, and then Vegas was just really bad in the second game.
Yeah.
But it feels like they've got a one-dimensional offense, and I'm not sure if our defense is good, but I know our defensive line has been killing it. So I feel like that should help in the end.
All righty. Well, we'll move on to the third game of the week, which is also on Sunday at 4 p.m. The Orlando Guardians, well, I should say the Orlando Panthers. I'm still messed up on that logo. At the Arlington Renegades. Uh, so, what they noted with this is that Arlington's not played either the first or last game, I guess, which gets special featuring, So they've always been stuck in these middle games where there's two at once. Uh, Orlando basically committed 13 penalties in its home opener while losing big to San Antonio. 13 penalties. That's a lot of. That's hard. And the quarterback play for Orlando has been very concerning. Paxton Lynch has been spinning his wheels with 136 yards passing in each of his two games. DeAndre Francois, who we mentioned earlier, is just 6 of 13, and Quentin Dormady had 2 of his 18 passes intercepted.
Yeah, and did you talk about DeAndre Francois' stat line?
I just said he's 6 of 13, but go ahead and elaborate on that if you can.
6 of 13. He had in that 6 of 13. He has a total of eight passing yards. That's it.
So 10 yards of completion.
Right. He's barely getting 1 yard of completion. It's pretty crazy. And he has a touchdown somehow.
Well,
I don't
Quentin
know really
Dormady
how.
has had 2 of his 18 passes intercepted. So,
Well, he
good
just got
figure.
released. Fun fact. They just booted
Wow.
him off the team. So
Well, the
it's
Guardians have thrown the most picks, as you noted earlier, with 4.
yeah, they've had some pretty bad QB play.
They scored 12. How do you score 12 points? Okay. It's
That's
Orlando. 12.2 games where they scored 12 points each, and they have not yet made a field goal. 0 for 2.
So that's just touchdowns, and they don't get any.
Yeah.
They don't score the 1, the 2, the 3, any of it.
Right. It just amazes me how few points some of these teams can score. But
And the thing is, I mean, I know they're. I guess they're the team in your area, so you might not want to hear this, but the Guardians kind of suck.
yeah, it's obvious for looking at that when your quarterback completes 6 passes for 8 yards. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just their quarterback play. All of them have not been very good, and rushing wise, they got this guy Jermaine Martin. He seems to be doing good, but that's about like they don't have a lot of anything. They have Cody Latimer. He's pretty good as a receiver, but if your quarterbacks aren't very good, they're the only team. Most of these games have been close. In week 1, 3 of the 4 games were close, and the one that wasn't was Houston beat Orlando by 21.
Right.
And then
you got to get the ball to the playmakers. If you got a quarterback if you don't have a quarterback to get the ball to playmakers, you're stuck.
Yep. And week 2, there were 2 1-score games. Then the DC and Vegas, which was just low scoring all around. Then Orlando again got beat by 18. But it's just they've been, especially their defense has not been good. I mean, they're the only team. Only 2 teams have scored 30 or more points, and they're both the teams that played the Guardians that week. So.
Well, let's look at the Arlington side of it. As they're described as not being flashy, but not really speedy. They lack true playmakers. Drew Plitt has been serviceable as a quarterback, but not a star. The wide receivers have some upside, but cousin of Dallas Cowboys star Leighton Vander Esch, Caleb Vander Esch was brought in as an undrafted free agent this week. So they're trying to get more of the wide receivers and the offensive weaponry to build up to try to score more themselves. And we saw that Arlington is down at the bottom in both running and passing.
So the interesting thing about them is they have 38 points over the 2 games so far. They only have 2 offensive touchdowns.
Yep.
That first game they won, they beat Vegas, and it was because twice pretty much backed up in their near their own goal line. The Vegas QB threw an interception and they returned it for a touchdown. So their offense has not been great. Their defense has been what's carried them, even with points wise.
Yeah. Their Arlington's longest run play this year to 2 games is 12 yards. So, but they held the Brahmas to -7 rushing yards in the first half and just 66 for the game. So, looks like the defense for Arlington is what will carry them.
Yep, they've got a great defense, and they've obviously Bob Stoops knows what to do with them. So
yeah, and I tell you, in Orlando's had some defensive player. I recognize the name Matt Elam from the NFL. He's on the Orlando team. So this will be a Bob Stoops versus Terrell Buckley matchup. Connection back to 2010 when Stoops coached at Oklahoma Sooners, went over Florida State when Buckley's was a Seminoles assistant. They're calling this one, quote, Stoops versus Oops. The veteran Arlington coach up against the team that committed 13 penalties last week. So,
yeah, I'm not liking the Guardians' chances. They just haven't looked pretty bad all around.
No. Well, and we'll move on to the last game of the week. 3 games on Sunday. This one is at 8 p.m. It is San Antonio Brahmas 1-1 at the Houston Roughnecks at 2-0. I like the way this article, they're having some fun with themselves. They said if it's an NBA game, it would burn your retinas. The Spurs and Rockets, as of this writing, are combined 28-95 and lost 23 of the last 24 games.
That's pretty bad. Oh my
so hopefully this means a marquee matchup in the XFL. So Houston is emerging as potentially the best team in the league on both sides of the ball with their defense. We've seen the offensive stats. San Antonio's gotten the ball downfield thanks to Jack Cohen as a quarterback. So this might be the better game of the week here on both sides in terms of what we can see from the team's offensive production this year so far.
Yeah, I mean, Houston has been pretty good. I think the thing is, their defense has been crazy. They had a guy. I think they have 2 guys with over 3 sacks already, which is, we've only played 2 weeks. Offensively, Brandon Silvers is pretty good. He's kind of that gunslinger, which I do like that style. But he's only completed 57% of his passes, but he does have 4 touchdowns, which is league leading.
Hey, I'm telling you though, in this league with the numbers I've seen, I'm not going to laugh at 57%.
Most of the players have a better completion percentage than that,
Yep.
but a lot of them, it doesn't necessarily come with the touchdown production. But Brandon Silvers is a pretty good quarterback. He's prone to making mistakes. Rushing wise, they have this Max Borghi. I don't remember who I've heard that name before. I don't remember where from though. So they've got kind of a balanced offense, nothing like too crazy. And we got Deontay Burnett on receiver. That's they don't have anything crazy. It's defense where it seems like they really shine.
Yep. So, so basically, it looks like Max Borghi played in the same Mike Leach offense at Washington State. Is the only XFL running back with multiple touchdowns so far. The offensive line is described as cohesive and strong. Brandon Silvers is tied for the league leading touchdown passes with Brahma's Jack Cohen. So the Roughnecks lead the league in total touchdowns, although they've only had 1 successful conversion attempt to follow those scores. But I will say also that special teams can be as a weapon for San Antonio, though. The kicker Parker Romo made a 40-yard field goal in the 4th quarter last week. His 3rd made field goal of 40-plus yards already, and that's impressive, I think.
Yeah, I think he's done pretty well. And their offense, it's hard to say. They don't necessarily have like a standout receiver. Their best receiver is there's Landon Akers, who's kind of like that prototypical slot receiver. He has 7 catches for 35 yards. He's the guy. They have Jalen Tolliver, but he hasn't done great. But Jack Cohen, despite them not having like a great receiver, Jack Cohen obviously had that big 3-touchdown game last week. And in week 1, I can say he looked fairly well. His offensive line was pretty bad. It wasn't, but he did a pretty good job.
Well,
And
And Heinz Ward is coaching in this game, which is funny because the article goes on to mention that Heinz Ward had precisely 1,000 regular season reception in his NFL career, had a season high of 112 in 2002. Uh, Basically, the footnote is that 112 receptions in a single NFL season sounds like a lot, or that it should have led the league, but that 112 was 31 short of Marvin Harrison's season for Indianapolis with Peyton
oh
Manning.
gosh,
Yep.
yep.
Hey,
That sounds about right.
little fact about Heinz Ward. Did you know that he originally went into college as a quarterback?
I did not know that.
Yes, he was recruited, highly recruited, University of Georgia, and he played a little bit at quarterback, but then they, over time moved him out to a wide receiver.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
he
a
started at
very
Georgia
good
as a quarterback.
decision by their part.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, so that's basically the games. We got the 4 games this week. So, Whoopa,
Yeah,
any
I
other
think
comments or
I'd
thoughts
take.
on any of them?
I think I'd take Houston in this game just because I think it's going to be a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
But just because Houston, so I don't know if you're aware, Houston before the league folded was 5-0 in 2020, and now they're 2-0 in this league. So since they made the Houston Roughnecks, the team has never lost, which is pretty wild.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, so it's hard to bet against them with that knowledge, but I think it's going to be the best game of the week. I think Seattle versus Vipers, the Seattle is going to cream them, and I think Renegades versus the Guardians are going to get beat. I think the Battlehawks, I hope it's not a boring game, but I think it might be, not necessarily because of Seattle or St. Louis. The defenders have a good defense, and DC does not have a very good offense. You're going to see, run up the middle, run up the middle, run to the side, run up the middle, probably a lot, I imagine. So
Yeah.
I think that last game that we talked about is going to be the best. They've got a lot of the best players. And the Brahmers have the leading rusher as well,
And
Kalen Balazs.
I think even the media expect it because this is the 8 o'clock primetime game Sunday night on ESPN2. It's not buried
Mm-hmm.
on one of the FX channels. ESPN2 compared to FX is like primetime television. So, but yeah, because I think all the other games are on FX. So,
Yep. So
yeah.
I guess they expect that to be pretty big too.
Yep, absolutely. That's kind of one game Saturday night, 3 games on Sunday. So,
Yeah,
all
the
right.
XFL has some weird scheduling they've decided to do.
And are they
Um,
moving between Friday night to Sunday? It's like they vary week to week.
so so in 2020 it was always 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
This they have like 1 Saturday, 3 Sunday. Last week they had one on Thursday night and
Yeah.
then one. It's like, what the heck? Um, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm
Next
going
week
to
they have
assume they don't do it.
Next week they have 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. Your first home game will be a Sunday afternoon game. Then the following week they go back to 1 Thursday, 2 Saturday, and 1 at 10 p.m. on the Sunday, March 19th. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Oh, coming up week 6, there's a Monday night game. So
No,
it's
so they've just gone. That's so weird. I don't understand what they're trying to do.
they're
I,
all over the
I'm
place. 2 Saturdays, 2 Sundays, 1 Saturday, 3 Sundays. I mean, it just kind of keeps coming back and forth. So, um, the one thing I did not look up, how are they doing the playoffs? Is it the top 2 in each division?
Yes, so they do it by division. It's top 2 in
Okay.
each division, and then
Yep.
the whoever wins that game will meet in the championship.
All right. Well, that's cool. Well, we're looking forward to some good. Hopefully, this week the games will get better. Hopefully, that with more game repetitions, things get better for the teams, and that it's interesting football because we like football. We want it to be interesting and have fun with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, well, this is our first show tonight, guys. We're going to leave out with 5 people. Make sure that y'all followed us on Twitch or definitely tackle that like button. Sub if you have it on the YouTube side. And hopefully y'all join us for more of these going the next few weeks. We're still talking football. Spent a lot of time talking about the rules of the XFL and a lot of things. Was a lot of fun, very informative, and we've been hearing about your experiences from 2020 and everything else. Really was nice, and hopefully we get more familiar with these teams going forward, and have fun with spring football. Whoopa, any other thoughts? Anything else you want to cover before we? Because that's pretty much, I think, everything that I had planned between schedules, rules, and things like that. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight?
Uh, I think we pretty much covered it all. We got a good mix of the player stats and who big names are and how the teams are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we pretty much did a good job of covering it.
Yep. All right. Well, cool. We even talked NFL. We talked some Arena Football League stuff.
Yeah.
We talked all kinds of stuff this evening. Hey, by the way, are you planning on getting into the USFL when it comes out, or are you just?
I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm partly a little biased just because the USFL, well, two reasons. One, the USFL last year, had played everything in one arena. I'm like, that's dumb. So
Yeah.
I just didn't pay attention. And also now that the XFL is actually back, I've got a team. I'm the Battlehawks. And, it's one thing when the AAF, I don't remember that. I just rooted for the Orlando Guardians because it's like, oh, cool. They're a cool team. Obviously with the Battlehawks, I have a connection to them, and they're my hometown team. So it's kind of like, oh, I don't really want to pay attention to the USFL because the XFL is where it's at. Those are my boys.
There you go. Nothing. Having some pride like that. Definitely
Yeah.
not. Definitely not. Yeah, I
I
just
wouldn't
was
buy all these season tickets both years if I didn't have some pride.
absolutely. Yeah, I tell you, I wish that if the USFL had done it, I wish that they would have brought back some of the other teams. I mean, I would have been curious to see how they would have done with a team in Jacksonville because and I'm wondering how they picked some of these teams that they did bring back because these logos bring back memories and things like that. I just wish that they would have considered bringing a team to Jacksonville because I think people would have gone to pay for it. I do because this team, we saw that you get a winning team, they're crazy and stuff like that. But the USFL season will run through the middle of June though before they run into the playoffs. So what we were talking about earlier was year round football now though. So and I think that
That's
they've
exciting.
yeah. But see, I agree with you. It's like I think they only play in 3 fields. It,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's like they've got a Memphis, Canton, Birmingham, Alabama. It's bizarre. See, that's the one thing I don't like. I mean,
It seems like it's hard to get invested in a
yeah,
team. Even I know that a lot of spring football, there's only 8 teams. I think USFL only has 8 teams too, but
yeah,
so it's hard. You're not going to get everyone with a fan base, but I feel like you want to try and have
yeah.
those guys who have a connection. And
Well,
look
see,
at,
I want. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, look at Seattle. They have an NFL team, but it show up, and San Antonio has done really well with their stadium and their team.
Well,
So
and I'm looking at this. They still got games in Birmingham, yet nobody. There's no Birmingham team. Memphis gets Memphis gets to play at home, and Michigan Panthers play at home. In Detroit, but it's like Pittsburgh doesn't. Oh, never mind. I'm wrong. Birmingham does have the Stallions, the Birmingham Stallions. That I misspoke on. I forgot that they had a team, but like the New Jersey Stars, the New Jersey Generals, Philadelphia Stars don't play at home. They're like at Ford Field or at Michigan or somewhere else, and that's just actually one of the fields is Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Hey, the Hall of Fame Stadium is going to actually get more football games now, but it just
hey,
is weird though, not seeing teams in their home city. So it's like this almost I think could be a problem of nostalgia. It's a nostalgia grab. But what's the beauty of
yeah,
the USFL in the '80s was that it was natural, and they were well attended games in most cities. So, but who knows? But
It's confusing to me, but
absolutely.
what
Well,
can
we are going to go ahead and call it at that note. We managed to go an hour 45 tonight, Whoopa. Hey, pretty
all
good for our
day?
first show. Yeah. We
I
weren't
didn't
sure
expect
how it
that.
was going to work out, what to expect, but we still got 4 people with us through all of it. So, and people come in and out and through. Thank y'all for having come and spent some time with us tonight. Hope you join us again going forward. We'll see what next week brings and share some more football memories, questions about XFL rules or football in general. We try to deal with them and all. Whoopa, any last thought?
Uh, so I guess I'll shout myself out since I have something.
Go ahead.
made a,
Yes.
I made a video today, posted it today, about the most recent Pokemon Presents. So if you like Pokemon, go check out my video.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely go check Whoopa out there. It's Whoopa. Just look for Whoopa Troopah over on YouTube, right?
Woopah Trooper. Here, I can
Yeah.
let me.
Yeah.
I'll post my link in the chat.
Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead. I'm still learning that. Oh, and while I got distracted too earlier before we went live, I did tweet out about it and got some reaction as I was watching the SEC women's basketball tournament, and they had a rain delay. They had a weather delay. The basketball game, the roof, and it was in Greenville, South Carolina. There was a roof leak. The storm's coming through.
Wow, that's got. Is that a first? That seems like a first.
It's the first I've ever seen of that. I have heard of a regular season cancellation many years ago when the JU Dolphins played at Virginia Commonwealth, and some maintenance people decided to wax the gym floor that day. So nobody got to play because it was too much dangerous for slipping and sliding all over the floor. So, but
I think some people got fired for that one.
yeah, maybe so. And yeah, that's too. Yeah, make sure. Let's see. Make sure you get your link out in there, Whoop, if you can. Or let's see. Well, let me do it. Let me do this. Let me see if
I
I can.
got it. Sorry,
You
it
got
took
it.
me a
Okay.
while.
Yeah, it's okay. Just making sure. Just making sure. Get out. Hey, listen, folks. Whoop has got some good stuff. Go check out his old content too. The shorts he's doing really cool now. Some really neat things, especially if you want to see XFL recaps. Definitely check it out. But a lot of other stuff that Whoopa does. Follow him also over on Twitter too. For if you want to see some good game rants. I'm proud of Whoopa because I've done plenty of those myself. I might have to take to Twitter next year with my Gators are going to be bad. But and as always, Whoopa, thank you for being here. And anybody, as you check out my channel. Remember, the easiest way to find out what's going to stay with the latest is follow me on Twitter at DadmanWalking55. Also follow me over on Twitch channel, DadmanWalking55, and on YouTube, DadmanWalking55. And on both of Twitch and YouTube, turn on the notifications. That way you'll be alerted when we do go live. Hit that bell, get it going, and thank you for spending a Friday evening with us talking about some spring football. And on that note, everybody, thank you for being here. We're going to say good night, and I will hopefully see you more this weekend and around. Later tonight, I'm supposed to be on playing Fortnite after midnight with Mark D with a C on his channel. So see you over there if we don't go live before then. Everybody, have a good night. Bye.
See ya.